Hey, what is up everyone? Hope you all having a wonderful time. Today I want to showcase a very awesome build from the Primalist class called the Thorny Bear. And the idea here is that you will use a bear as a target dummy and it will retaliate ice thorns each time it takes damage pretty much. And the thorns will be covering almost the whole screen, so it's great for clearing. And not only that, but enemies will also get the bleed effect on them, taking physical damage over time, which is the primary damage type that we want to focus on. And this is a great build for bossing as well. The only thing is that you have to get your bleeds up on the bosses before you deal damage, and this can be a little bit annoying sometimes. But overall, once they are there, the bosses will just melt really fast. This build is quite tanky also, getting over 30k armor with a lot of different damage reductions from passives, making it a really good build overall. Before we get over more of the build, just a quick reminder to like the video and also subscribe to the channel to show your support. And with that said, let's continue with the build. Before we go over the skills that we are using, I just want to mention that you can play this in many different ways, and I will go over some alternative ways that you can start playing this from. Maybe you just started playing and it's lacking some unique items. No worries, you can still make this build work either way, but more about that later in the video. And also sorry in advance if I mispronounce any of the skills or passives, but I think we will be alright either way. So first of all, let's go over with the actual bear. And so the skill is called Summon Bear, and here we want to first go to the Retaliation Thorns. So we go over Thick Hides, and here we get to Retaliation Thorns. And this is making it so this whole build works pretty much. Each time our bear takes 75 damage, it will retaliate with the skill Icy Thorns. Next up, we can go for Wing Thorns for extra thorn speed and also the range. We also want to go for Tearing Thorns for the additional bleed chance that it provides. Next up, we want to go over here for Lacerating Claws for more damage and bleed chance. Thorny Bear for Bear Thorn and also lesser retaliation thresholds. We want Barbed Thorns for a chance to do double damage. And also we have Ursine Endurance for some more life, and also that our Brain Thorns get a cooldown of 4 seconds. And the thing here is that you might want to rush to your Endurance before putting points in any of the other passives, because the bear is going to get a ranged ability, and this makes it so you will get a 4-second cooldown on that range ability. And this makes it so the bear will go in melee range pretty much all of the time. And this makes it easier for the bear to actually take damage from different enemies when it's standing closer to the enemies, right? Nothing crazy there. And next we want to go over to the Icy Thorns. And everything here that we put our points in will go over to our Icy Thorns that our bear will retaliate. And first we want to take the route downwards for the Dagger Thorn, 3 points in here. We want to go downwards here for Bramble Armor, and this makes so we have a chance to cast Ice Thorn when we hit by enemies. And also down here, Spell Thorns for even more chance and also some spell physical damage. Next up, we want to go for Anomaly for some speed and additional range. We want Thorn Barrier for some additional armor when this procs. We have 1 point here in Blob Shield for a chance for recasting, Bark Shield for additional armor, and lastly we have Ethereal Protection for additional duration for the Thorn Barrier. And these two skills, the Bear and Icy Thorns, is going to be the main abilities for this build to work, and everything else is pretty much just a bonus, but we do have some more to go over. And another skill that we are going to use is Striggan Form. And the reason for this is that we get different perks while we are in this form, But we also gain defensives and some offensive buffs by applying Thorn Shield, and this is this skill that we gain from being in this form. We also gain a healing totem that we can use, healing us and also our bear. Really awesome stuff there. And yeah, here we want to go downwards. We want to take 2 points in Iron Bark for more armor and increased armor, 1 point in Spike Burst. We have 4 points in Barmed Thicket. We can also apply Thorn Shield on our bear, so this makes it so we buff the damage and the bleed chance for our bear. We want 1 point in String Bramble, and we want 3 points in Glacier Grove, so we can get a chance of getting Maelstorm on Thorn's shield, or when we are using Thorn Shield on us. And more about this in just a second. Other than that, go down here for deeper roots, more duration for the shield. Also here, more armor and increased armor percentage. And lastly, blood growth here for a chance to be recasted. So let's talk about this one, the Maelstorm, which is going to be the 4th skill. And this is nothing that we use ourselves, but will be triggered when we are in Striggan form and using this skill. So we'll have a percentage there. Let's see how much it was. 45% when we are using this skill, Thorn Shield, right? So moving on to Maelstorm. First we go up and we go over here to Worm Storm for some more stack duration. 1 point here in Turbulence and 2 points here in Calm. So we can get Wind Sheep for a haste buff and also Wind Fury for a frenzy buff. We have 1 point here in Terminal for just some more area, and we also have Arctic Chill for more shield chance, and our last points in Arctic Blast for additional freeze rate multiplier. And lastly, we are using Eterra's Blessing. And same as before, this is not a skill that we are using manually, but we are getting these passively by having, let's see, over here, by having 8 points in this passive over here. So in the Druid, we are using 8 points here in Blossom Garden, it's called. And this provides so when you directly use a spell or a movement skill, you cast Eterra's Blessing on a nearby minion or another ally, prioritizing party members on low health. So yeah, so this is, we get this passively when we are using our skills. And for this, we want to go right here for Improved Blessing. 1 point in Purge, cleanse all the elements. We want 1 point in Efflorence, and this is making it so the heal is over time instead, really good. And 1 in Regrowth. And then we want to go downwards here for Ardent Touch, getting movement speed, attack speed, cast speed for minions. We have Encourage here, 2 points. And lastly, we put here Swift Recovery. Or not lastly, sorry, but Swift Recovery. We have over here as well Safeguard, so we get more elemental resistant, poison resist, and here, lastly, Natural Affinity. So our minion gets stun immunity. And just quickly here, I want to show you the defensive power of the Thorn Shield here. If you focus on the armor part here, you will see what I'm talking about. So yeah, we are ramping quite fast, and you will have no problem getting upwards to 30k when you are ramping real fast. We can pop some tokens here for some increased cost speed, so we can cost even faster, right? So let's see here if you can manage to get over 30k. But yeah, you get insane amounts of armor here. You can see 84% reductions right now. We're almost at 30k. I don't think we will get a more percentage. You can apply this to your bear as well. Really, really awesome. So he gets the benefits of defense, but he also gains the offensive buffs as well. So that was all of the skills that we're using for this build. Let's go over some stats and the items that we are using. So first of all, let's go over the uniques that we are using. Starting with the body armor, doublet of honest toll. This provides some health. Minion have 40% chance to bleed on hit. And the most important one is minion have increased bleed duration. This one providing 1% bleed duration. So this makes it so the bleed on our enemy stays longer, making it so we can apply more bleeds and more damage by having that. Next one, we are using Legacy of the Quiet Forest. And this provides a lot of resistance, but the most important one is the last row there, providing us rage gained every 3 seconds while in Striggan form. And this makes it so we can pretty much be in Striggan form all the time. Yeah, really awesome stuff there. And the last one that we are using is called Silver Frond, and it's a unique ring, and this is mostly a quality of life ring. The only thing that we want from this one pretty much is we get a skill called Summon Vines, and the ring makes it so we can teleport with the vines. Yeah, really quality of life only, but very helpful while running around and stuff like that. For the rest of the gear, we want to get as much cast speed as we can, and this makes it so we can spam our Thorn shields as fast as possible. And yes, we have 3 different slots that we can get this on. So first off, we have the weapon slot here, we have the offhand, and lastly we have it on our relic. And the next thing that we want to get is minion life, and this is so our bear get even tankier. We also want as much resist as possible, right? Getting resist capped is always the goal, so we take less damage. And we also want as much life as possible. And for the idols, we are going to try and use these ones. They are doined ones, which is increasing our minion bleed duration, which is the primal stat that we are looking for. And I've been quite unlucky, and I only found one so far in this playthrough, but some other ones that you could go for is something like this. So minion have chance to bleed on hit, chance on hit, and this has a bit on single target, or you could just go with something like this with increased minion spell damage, works as well. But mainly try to focus on getting, you think you can have 4 of these in total. Other than that, just life, resist, whatever you prefer. One extra thing to note is that minions in Last Epoch get its stats from the items you have on you when you are summoning the minions. So this means that you can go really crazy with some setups, but here I want to show you a very simple thing that you could do to boost your damage a bit further. So what I do is I equip a 2-hander with increased damage over time for minions. And after I equip this, I spawn the bear, and then the blades will now deal a bit more than it did before. Then we can equip our normal weapon and offhand with our cast speed, boosting our speed for spawning the Thorn shields for our build. Let me demonstrate. So you can see here now we are taking between, where is it, like 700, 800. I think the blade take is, pretty much. Let me take off the bear here, and we want to resummon him with our 2-hander here with increased damage over time for minions. So now here you see that the ticks do pretty much double the damage, pretty much. And just to demonstrate here, it doesn't really, we can take off the 2-hander, and the blades will stay the same without the weapon on. Also, if you didn't know, you can force your pet to move by pressing A by default. Next up, let's go over the passives for this build, starting with the Primalist. Here we want to take all our points in Natural Attunement, we want all our points in Gift of the Wilderness, we want 5 points in Hunter's Restoration, and 1 point in Hunter's Emanation. Next up we want to go to Beastmaster, and here is where we also want our mastered class. And here we want to start with Earth and Strength, providing us with some strength and also the damage taken from nearby enemies by negative 16%. We want the Boar Heart for aspect of the Boar, and this is making us take even less damage taken when this procs. We want to take 5 points here in Porcine Construction, and this is for even further damage reduction from this. Really awesome. You have 1 point here in Arthur Loyalist, and this is to boost our bear for more damage. We have 3 points here in Call of the Pact for some more life, companion health and stuff like that. Moving on here, Primal Strength for some extra strength and also aspect of the boar chance on melee hit. We have 8 points here in Life of the Wilderness for some more vitality, also Endurance Threshold, and also the Endurance Threshold is now applying to our companions as well. And lastly, 1 in Natural Bond, boosting our bear even further. Next up, jumping over to the Druid, we have 7 points here in Chitini's Plating for more endurance and armor. We have 5 points here in Thicket of Thorns. 2 points in Spirit Warden. We have 1 point here in Blessed Spring. 8 points here in Blossoming Garden, and this is where I told before, 8 points for the special effect there, so we can get the Ethereal Blessing. And lastly, we have 5 points in Wind in the Leaves to boost even further for attack cost speed and also minion attack cost speed. And this as well, 3 point bonus here, making us run faster while we're in Striggan form. So really awesome stuff there. Last points that we have is in Shaman, and here we are going with Shaman Infusion for attunement and penetration. And here is where I am going to continue with this when I get more levels. We have 1 point here in Silent Protection, and we are maxing out Totemic Fury, so we get even more cost speed when we have a totem spawned, making it so we can spam our shield even faster. Alright, so this was a showcase of the Thorny Bear build, but before we wrap up, let me quickly just go over some additional paths that could go with this build. So first off, I want to go over this build with none of the uniques that we went through here. So for the body armor, for example, this provides extra damage, obviously. The ring here was more of a quality of life for providing us with the teleport while we're in the Striggan form. And this is the belt, making it so we can be in Striggan form pretty much all of the time. So basically here you can still play the build as I'm doing. It will only be more annoying pretty much having the Striggan for just bossing example, but when you are running around doing monoliths, just use your Fury Leap instead of teleporting with your vines. Works really great. And you can also go ahead and change this Maelstorm. You don't really need that if you're not always in uptime on the Striggan form. So what I would do is to change this one to Summon Frenzy Totem, and from here you want to go and take Furious Cry as fast as you can, and this makes it so when you are spawning the totem you will refresh the companion's ability cooldown, and the ability cooldown for the bear is that you gain a taunt. So this makes it so you can taunt, you can pop your totem down, and then you can taunt once more. And this is just making it so you can go and clear the monoliths and whatever you are doing more fast, right? So just taunt, press on that, and then you can now taunt once again. Very awesome stuff. But another thing that you can do is you can also go a ward route with this build. And this is going to take this build to a whole new level, making you even more tankier than you already are. So first up we have this body armor here, Ascendance, and this makes it so you are losing 20% of your current health per second, but you gain it as a ward instead. And you also get some other perks here, like attack cast speed, movement speed if you are using a potion, and also immunity to bleed. And next up we have these boots, Last Steps of the Living. This same as the body armor, you are losing your health, but you gain ward instead, with some really awesome perks as well. And lastly we have these gloves, and these are called Frostbite Shackle, and these gloves are very interesting. This makes it so we can get ward retaliation for each % of the uncapped colorcies that we have, and this by having no cap on it you can get this very high. I've been trying this a bit for myself, and I do get a bit about 2000 ward right now, but I do not have that much cold resist. I'm currently on 156%, so yeah, you can get this really high, and this is why I have been playing the health version for this build until I can get some more resistance. And quickly, if you don't know how wards works, once you get ward, regen, or like the method that I showed you from the boots here, and also the body armor, and this will slowly try and decay as higher that you get. And if you do get ward retaliation, this will make it so it slows the rate of decay, making us get even more ward, right? So that's why these gloves are just very insane, and yeah, not having a cap on the last row there makes them very special and interesting. And this as well as the other ones, having quite a lot of nice extra stats on the gloves, boosting our Maelstorm for instance, and also the Ice Thorns even further. Also, if you are going to use the ward version, a good thing to note is in the Primalist passives you have these nodes here called Berserker, providing more melee damage. Doesn't really care about that, but the other point there, less damage taken on low life, is going to be really awesome. So you can have 5 points here for an additional 25% less damage taken, because when we are going with the ward route we are on low life, right? So yeah, really awesome extra defensive layer. And lastly, you can actually go and target farm both the gloves and the boots from the bosses Formus the Undying, which is a last boss in the Blood, Frost and Death Monolith. And if you are very lucky, you might even get both in the same drop. Comment down below if you found this video helpful and maybe you learned a thing or two as well. Don't forget to like the video and also subscribe to the channel to show your support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!